your character, clearly he wants to be someone else.
Yeah.
But in order to become someone else, he has to actually become someone he doesn't want to be. Can you talk about that sort of, that kind of interesting aspect of the character and how you approach portraying that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what drew me the most to the character at first, he had this dualism in him that I think, that is very complex and interesting, that he's a person that is very confident, but at the same time has very low self-esteem. And he's sort of a person that, for him, it's enough to seem. He doesn't really have to be one. And I read it as, that something never filled up within him when he was a kid. So he had this void and that from that void, within him, he started to make, so many bad decisions throughout life. And he, became or made himself into be this like chameleon that impersonated pretty much anyone he aspired to be, and that's something that gets lost a little bit if you don't speak Swedish. It was a big part of my performance that he's also a chameleon in his dialect, so he would change his dialect with the different people that he met and was around.
Was that in the script when you first read it, or was that something that you, or maybe talking to Daniel, that you added?
Yeah, that was something that I added myself, that I wanted to be a part of it. And then, of course, he also had to be very believable as an upper class person, and the Swedish upper class has, is similar to the British upper class. It's an aristocracy that comes from, an old monarchy. There's a nobility, and they have a very specific way of being, of eating. When I finally managed to get into these little secret societies, I got all these stories and explanations behind some of these manners that they have. And one of them was, the way that you eat is, very important. And when you eat a soup, you eat from the inside out. That's how you eat a soup. And the reason that you do that is because in these old stone castles, it was an act of friendship. Because when you have a hot soup, then you share the warmth, and then you spread the warmth. And there's just kind of an interesting history to some of these mannerisms, but it's very specific, and it's very telling if you're not part of that. So I wanted to get enough information and to be as to know when I did my mistakes, because I wanted me to choose when JW made mistakes in that world, not that I made mistakes just because I didn't have the knowledge.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you're doing a film or a project in your native tongue, is it easier? Is it more comfortable for you than some of the American projects you've done? And does it change the acting process at all?
No, it doesn't. It is a little bit easier, but now I'm getting... Now it almost doesn't feel... It's easier for me to tap into different parts of society, because I know society, the different social and economic groups better in Sweden, and it's easier for me to pinpoint a person. But at the same time, the United States is such a huge country, so there's so many more options, and so you can also get away with more, because people can come from and their dialects sound so different, and a dialect from one part of the country can't sound like another part, and so on.
Yeah, sure. Last question I just want to ask about working with Daniel. Did you actually shoot this before Safe House, or which came first, and what was your experience working with him?
No, this was shot a couple of years before Safe House. And I had actually met Daniel when he was casting his first feature in 2002, and I was going to do a part in that movie. But then I got into the National Acting School, which I've been trying to get into for a long time. So I turned that down to get my education. And but then we became friends through that process, and then when I finished my education, then we were developing this movie together, and we couldn't get it. We couldn't get it approved. There's like this board in Sweden that approves the movie, and then the government goes in with half of the budget, and then it's also easy to get the rest of the financing. We couldn't get that through, but then he got easy money, and so then he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah. And then of course I'm such a fucking idiot, so then I went and bragged to everyone I knew that I was going to do this movie for 6 months. So everyone knew that I got this part, and then Daniel comes back and he's like, you're going to have to audition. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'll help you, we'll work it out, but... So then I had to go in and audition for this movie that I told everyone that I was going to do. So I was fucked. And usually when you're auditioning, you're sort of there's like this sort of competition that you want to win the part. But now I could just lose it. So I had to audition 7 times for a part that I already thought was mine.
For easy money.
For easy money, and then finally I got it. And it's like, and there was no happiness. It was just relief.
Well, it shows it was meant to be.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and he's a fantastic director. There is actually no director that I would pick above him to work with. I mean, maybe there are more accomplished directors, but there's just something with him and our relationship that I know that I'm always on top of my game when I work with him. So it's and this was our first film.